Welcome to Story Tales. Please like this video and subscribe to Story Tales. I hope you enjoy the story. Let's begin.
The package arrived on Rhiannon Calloway's doorstep at exactly 9:15 a.m. on her 32nd birthday. A sleek black box with a silver ribbon, no card attached. She didn't need one to know who it was from. Rhea set her coffee mug down on the kitchen counter and studied the box without touching it. Her mother-in-law had never acknowledged her birthday before. 5 years of marriage to Jasper, and Lenora Calloway had consistently forgotten the date every single time, until now. What's that? Jasper appeared behind her, hair still damp from his shower. His eyes widened at the sight of the package. Is that from my mother? Seems like it. Rhea's voice remained neutral, giving nothing away. She'd become good at that, hiding her true feelings about Lenora from Jasper. It made life easier. Jasper looked nervous. Aren't you going to open it? Rhea pulled the ribbon slowly, methodically. Inside was a refrigerated box of 12 handcrafted chocolates from Marceau's, the exclusive chocolatier downtown that required reservations just to enter the store. That's surprisingly nice of her, Rhea said, not bothering to mask the suspicion in her voice. Jasper looked relieved. See? She's trying. Maybe you two can finally get along. Rhea almost laughed at his naivety. Lenora Calloway didn't try anything without an agenda. 5 years of backhanded compliments, forgotten invitations, and accidental slights had taught her that. Sure, she said, replacing the lid. I'll save them for later. That night, while Jasper worked late, as usual, Rhea examined the chocolates. They looked perfect, too perfect. Each one was a tiny work of art, gleaming beneath the kitchen lights. She picked one up, brought it to her nose, and inhaled. Nothing seemed off, but instinct kept her from taking a bite. Instead, she placed the entire box in the refrigerator and closed the door. The next morning, her phone rang. Lenora's name flashed across the screen. Rhea almost let it go to voicemail, but answered on the 4th ring. Hello, Lenora. Rhiannon. Her mother-in-law's voice was silky, controlled. I trust you received my little gift. I did. Thank you. Rhea kept her tone even. And how were they? There was something in Lenora's voice, a tightness, an eagerness that made the hair on Rhea's neck stand up. Rhea hesitated for only a split second before the lie came easily to her lips. Jasper ate them all, actually. The silence that followed was deafening. Rhea could almost hear the calculations happening on the other end of the line. He what? Lenora's voice had lost its composure. Are you serious? Yes, he loved them. Couldn't resist. Rhea twisted the phone cord around her finger, an old habit from childhood when she'd lie to get out of trouble. Why? Was there a specific one you wanted me to try? No, Lenora regained her composure quickly. That's fine. I just wanted to know if you enjoyed them. I'll speak with you later. The call ended abruptly. Rhea stared at the phone, a cold feeling settling in her stomach. Something was wrong. 20 minutes later, Jasper called. His voice was higher than usual, the words coming out too fast. Rhea, did you actually eat those chocolates? No. Why? Her grip on the phone tightened. There was silence, followed by a heavy sigh. Mom, she put something in them. Rhea closed her eyes, the confirmation of her suspicions washing over her in a wave of nausea and rage. What was it? Jasper hesitated. She said it wasn't dangerous, just something to cause discomfort. Food poisoning. Discomfort, Rhea repeated, the word hollow in her mouth. She looked at the refrigerator where the pristine box of chocolate sat. Your mother tried to poison me on my birthday, and you're calling it discomfort. She didn't mean. Don't. Her voice was sharp enough to cut through his excuses. Don't you dare defend her. Rhea hung up, her hands shaking with anger. She stared at the box of chocolates that could have sent her to the hospital. A test, a message, a declaration of war, and Jasper spineless, Gutless Jasper would have let her eat them if she hadn't been suspicious. Jasper came home late, slipping into the house like a guilty shadow. Rhea sat in the living room, lights off, the box of poisoned chocolates placed on the coffee table between them. Explain. One word, heavy with the weight of betrayal. Jasper's face crumpled. I had no idea until today, I swear. She called me, frantic, asking if you'd eaten them. When I said I didn't know, she told me what she'd done. Which was what exactly? Rhea remained perfectly still, her fury a contained storm. She put something in them, a laxative or something. She said it was just to teach you a lesson about... His voice trailed off. About what? About respecting her position in this family, he finished lamely. Rhea stood up, her movement so sudden that Jasper flinched. And what did you say to her when she told you she tried to poison your wife? Jasper looked away. I told her she'd gone too far. That's it. Gone too far. Like she forgot to send a thank you note? She tried to make me violently ill on my birthday, Jasper. She wouldn't have done any permanent damage. Stop defending her. Rhea's voice cracked the silence. Just once I need you to choose me over her. Jasper reached for her hand, but she pulled away. I love you, Rhea. You know that. She looked at him, really looked at him, this man she'd married, this man who would always put his mother first. No, you love the idea of me, the idea of having a spine. But when it counts, you're just like her puppet. She grabbed her car keys. I'm going to talk to your mother. Rhea, don't. But she was already gone, tires screeching as she pulled out of the driveway. 20 minutes later, she was pounding on Lenora Calloway's front door. The door opened to reveal Lenora in a silk robe, a glass of red wine in her manicured hand. Her silver-streaked hair was perfectly styled even at this hour. Rhiannon, what an unexpected pleasure. Rhea pushed past her into the immaculate living room. Cut the act. I know what you did. Lenora took a slow sip of her wine, unruffled. And what is it you think I've done? The chocolates. You put something in them. Did I? A small smile played at the corners of Lenora's mouth. You admitted it to Jasper. Lenora sighed, setting her wine glass down on a coaster. It was a harmless prank, nothing more. And clearly it didn't work. You're standing here, perfectly fine. A prank. Rhea's voice rose. Drugging someone isn't a prank. It's assault. Such dramatic language. Lenora waved her hand dismissively. It was just a test. And it seems you failed. Failed what? Failed to trust your family. Lenora's eyes narrowed. You think you belong in this family, dear? You never did. The words hung in the air between them. Rhea saw the triumph in Lenora's eyes, the cold calculation. It wasn't just about the chocolates. It was a message, a reminder of who held the power. Family doesn't poison family, Rhea said quietly. No, but we do protect our own. Jasper deserves better than you. Better like who? Ava. The name came out before Rhea could stop it, a suspicion she'd harbored for months about Jasper's ex-girlfriend who kept appearing at family functions. Something flickered across Lenora's face, satisfaction, perhaps. Ava knew her place. She respected tradition, lineage, things you've never understood. Rhea moved closer, her voice deadly calm. Let me make something very clear. This little stunt, this ends now. You come near me again, try to hurt me again, and I will burn your perfect world to the ground. Lenora laughed, the sound like glass breaking. With what? You have nothing. You are nothing without the Calloway name. Watch me, Rhea whispered, then turned and walked out, slamming the door behind her. In her car, hands gripping the steering wheel until her knuckles turned white. Rhea finally let the tears come. Not tears of sadness or fear, but of pure, unbridled rage. Lenora had declared war, and she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life. The house was silent when Rhea returned. Jasper sat at the kitchen table, a glass of whiskey in front of him untouched. He looked up as she entered, his eyes puffy and red. "You saw her." "I did. And—" Rhea leaned against the counter, suddenly exhausted. "And she confirmed what I already knew. She's a monster, and you're too weak to see it." Jasper flinched. "That's not fair." "Fair." Rhea laughed, the sound harsh in the quiet kitchen. "Was it fair when she tried to poison me? Was it fair when she excluded me from family photos last Christmas? When she forgot to invite me to your cousin's wedding? She's just protective. She's controlling. She's manipulative. And you let her be." Rhea pushed away from the counter. "I'm done, Jasper. I'm leaving." His face drained of color. "What do you mean, leaving?" "I mean I'm packing my bags and getting out of this toxic situation." She headed for the stairs. "I'll stay with Sully until I figure things out." Jasper followed her to the bedroom, watching as she pulled a suitcase from the closet. "Rhea, please, don't let her win." She already did. Rhea moved methodically around the room, grabbing clothes, toiletries, her laptop. "The moment you chose her over me, she won." "I didn't choose. You did. Every time she undermined me, belittled me, made me feel like I wasn't good enough, and you stood by and did nothing. You chose her." "I love you, Rhea," he said, his voice breaking. "We can fix this." She stopped packing and looked at him directly. "Can we? Because I don't think you're capable of standing up to her, and I refuse to spend the rest of my life fighting a battle I can't win." As she zipped up her suitcase, something caught her eye. A glint from Jasper's dresser. She moved closer and saw a necklace, a delicate silver chain with a sapphire pendant. Not hers. She'd never seen it before. Her stomach twisted. She recognized the style, had seen it around the neck of Jasper's ex-girlfriend at the last Calloway family dinner. Ava's necklace, without saying a word. She picked it up and slipped it into her pocket. "Rhea, please," Jasper begged, oblivious to what she'd found. "Just stay tonight. We'll talk in the morning." "There's nothing left to say." She lifted her suitcase and brushed past him. "I'll be at Sully's if you need to reach me." The Sullivan ward owned a dive bar called the Rusty Nail on the south side of Chicago. It wasn't much, but it was authentic, and it was home to Rhea in ways her house with Jasper had never been. Sully had an apartment above the bar, spare and simple. But tonight it was a sanctuary. He poured her a whiskey, neat, and sat across from her at his kitchen table. "So, she finally showed her true colors," he said after she'd recounted the story. Rhea took a sip, the liquor burning a path down her throat. "She's been showing them for years. I just refuse to see the full picture. And Jasper, weak, always has been." She pulled the necklace from her pocket and placed it on the table. "Found this in our bedroom. It's Ava's." Sully whistled low. "You think they're—" "I don't know. And right now I don't care." She twirled the necklace, watching the sapphire catch the light. "What I do know is that Lenora wants her perfect son back with her perfect choice of daughter-in-law. So what now?" Rhea looked up, her eyes bright with determination. "Now, I make them all pay." Sully studied her face for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "You know what you gotta do, right?" Her grip tightened around the glass. "Revenge." "Not just revenge," Sully corrected, refilling her whiskey. "Smart revenge. The kind that leaves them destroyed and you untouchable." Rhea smiled for the first time that day, a cold, calculating smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm listening." The morning after her escape, Rhea woke on Sully's lumpy couch with a purpose that burned through her hangover. She pulled out her phone and made a call she'd been avoiding for months. "Dom, it's me. I need to see you." 2 hours later, she sat across from her brother at a corner table in a coffee shop far from any Calloway haunts. Dominic Vance was her opposite in many ways, broad-shouldered where she was slender, dark-haired to her blonde, loud where she was reserved. But they shared the same sharp eyes, the the same ability to read a situation and turn it to their advantage. "You look like hell," he said by way of greeting. "Thanks." She pushed the necklace across the table. "I need to know everything about this. Who bought it, when, why?" Dom picked it up, examining the craftsmanship. "Nice piece. Custom work. Local?" "I think so. It belongs to Ava Roman." Dom's eyebrows shot up. "Jasper's ex? The one his mother is in love with?" "The very same." Rhea wrapped her hands around her coffee cup, seeking its warmth. "I found it in our bedroom yesterday." "Shit, Rhea." Dom's face darkened. "You think he's cheating?" "I don't know, but I need to find out what's going on." Dom pocketed the necklace. "Give me a few days. I'll find out when it was bought, who paid for it, and why it was in your bedroom." "Thanks." She hesitated. "There's more. Lenora tried to poison me." The coffee mug in Dom's hand froze halfway to his lips. "What?" Rhea recounted the story of the chocolates, watching her brother's expression shift from disbelief to fury. "I'll kill her," he said when she finished. Rhea shook her head. "No, I don't want her hurt. I want her destroyed. I want to take everything from her, her reputation, her social standing, her control over Jasper. I want her to feel what it's like to be powerless." Dom studied his sister. "You've got a plan." "Getting there. But first, I need information. About Lenora, about her business dealings, about her precious charity work." "The Callaway Foundation." Dom snorted. "That vanity project she uses to show off at galas?" "That's the one. Something's not right with it. The numbers don't add up." "What do you mean?" Rhea leaned forward. "When I first married Jasper, I offered to help with the foundation's accounting. Lenora shut me down immediately, said it was family business. But not before I saw some discrepancies in the donation records." Dom's eyes narrowed. "You think she's skimming?" "Or worse. But I need proof." "Leave it to me." Dom stood, dropping a 20 on the table for their coffees. "And Rhea, be careful. If she's willing to poison you, who knows what else she's capable of." Rhea watched her brother leave, feeling the first stirrings of power. Lenora thought she was helpless, alone. She had no idea what was coming. 3 days later, Dom appeared the rusty nail just before closing. His face told her everything she needed to know. "Found something?" she asked as Sully locked the door behind the last customer. "Several somethings." Dom pulled out a file folder and spread its contents across the bar. First, the necklace. Custom piece from Harrington Jewelers. Ordered 2 months ago by Jasper Callaway. Paid for with his credit card. Rhea's heart sank, despite having suspected as much. So they are seeing each other. Not exactly. Dom pushed forward a printout of text messages. "Jasper has been meeting with Ava, but it's not what you think. Lenora's been orchestrating the whole thing. Setting up accidental meetings, inviting Ava to family events, pressuring Jasper to reconnect with old friends. And Jasper just went along with it? Behind my back?" "Seems like it, but here's where it gets interesting." Dom tapped another document. "Ava's business? The boutique interior design firm she's so proud of? It's a front." "A front for what?" "Money laundering. She's working with some shady real estate developers, helping them clean cash through consulting fees for designs that never happen." Sully whistled low. "That's a federal offense." "It gets better," Dom continued. "Guess who's one of her biggest clients? The Callaway Foundation." Rhea's eyes widened. "Lenora is laundering money through her own charity and using Ava to do it. Perfect setup. Ava gets a legitimate business, Lenora gets her tax write-offs, and they both get rich while looking like pillars of the community." Rhea stared at the documents, mind racing. "Does Jasper know?" Dom shrugged. "Hard to say. He's either in on it or too blind to see what's happening right under his nose." Either way, Rhea said, gathering the documents, I now have everything I need to start dismantling Lenora's perfect world. Sully refilled their glasses. So what's the first move? Rhea held up the necklace, letting it catch the light. We hit Ava first, the weakest link in Lenora's chain. Destroying Ava Roman turned out to be surprisingly simple. It took Rhea just 1 week, 3 anonymous emails, and a carefully orchestrated chance encounter at Lenora's favorite lunch spot. She sat at the bar, nursing a sparkling water, when Ava walked in with 2 of her designer friends. Perfect timing. Rhea pulled out her phone and sent a pre-composed text to a number Dom had provided. 2 minutes later, Ava's phone chimed. Rhea watched from the corner of her eye as Ava's perfectly made-up face drained of color. Everything okay? One of her friends asked. I have to go, Ava stuttered, grabbing her purse. Emergency at the office. The emergency was an anonymous tip to the IRS about discrepancies in Ava's business records, along with copies of her transactions with the shady developers. By tomorrow, her boutique firm would be under investigation, her reputation in tatters. Phase 1 complete. That night, Rhea met Jasper for coffee. He looked terrible, dark circles under his eyes, hair uncombed, wedding ring conspicuously absent from his finger. Thanks for coming, he said, voice hoarse. I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't. Rhea kept her tone neutral, giving nothing away. How's your mother? Jasper flinched at the mention of Lenora. She's upset. About us. Is she? Or is she just upset her plan didn't work? What plan? Rhea sighed, feigning exhaustion. Jasper, stop. I know about Ava. I know your mother's been pushing you 2 together for months. His face crumpled. It wasn't like that. Mom just thought we should stay friends, that's all. Friends don't give each other expensive jewelry. She watched his face closely. Friends don't meet behind their spouse's back. How did you? It doesn't matter. What matters is that you lied to me. Again. She leaned forward. Tell me something, Jasper. Does your mother love you? Really love you? Or does she just love controlling you? He recoiled as if slapped. Of course she loves me. Then why does she keep making you choose between her and your happiness? Why did she try to poison your wife? Why is she pushing you toward a woman who's about to be investigated for fraud? What are you talking about? Ava's not. Oh, you didn't hear. Rhea pulled out her phone, showing him the breaking news alert. It's all over the business pages. Ava Roman, up-and-coming designer, under federal investigation for fraud and money laundering. Jasper stared at the screen, mouth open. This can't be right. It is. And your mother knew. She's been using Ava's firm to funnel money from the Callaway Foundation for years. No, that's impossible. Mom would never. Wake up, Jasper. Rhea's voice was sharp enough to make nearby patrons turn. She lowered it to a fierce whisper. Your mother is not the saint you think she is. She never wanted you happy. She just wants control. She stood, gathering her coat. Think about it. Really think. How many times has she sabotaged your happiness? How many relationships has she ruined? How many career moves has she blocked because they didn't fit her plan for you? Jasper's face showed the first hints of doubt, the first cracks in his blind devotion. Good. I still love you, Rhea, he said weakly. No, you don't. You just don't want to be alone. She turned to leave, then paused. By the way, I filed for divorce this morning. The papers will be delivered to your office tomorrow. As she walked away, she didn't look back to see Jasper's face crumple, didn't wait to hear his protests. She already knew what would happen next. Jasper would run to his mother, seeking comfort and guidance. And Lenora, furious at Ava's downfall, would push him away, blame him for the mess, and slowly, methodically, Jasper would begin to crumble. Over the next 2 weeks, Rhea watched from a distance as her predictions came true. Jasper started drinking more, missing work, breaking down. He called her constantly, leaving rambling voicemails that veered between anger and desperation. "You ruined everything," he slurred in one late-night message. "Mom won't even talk to me anymore. Says I brought shame to the family." Perfect. Dismantling Lenora Calloway required more finesse than dealing with Ava. The woman had spent decades building her fortress of respectability, her network of influential friends, her reputation as Chicago's most formidable philanthropist. But every fortress has a weakness, and Rhea had found Lenora's. "The Calloway Foundation annual gala is in 3 weeks," Rhea told Dom and Sully as they sat in her new apartment, strategizing. "It's Lenora's crown jewel. All of Chicago's elite will be there, donating millions to her charitable causes. And none of them know they're funding her personal expenses and illegal activities," Dom added, scrolling through the financial records he'd obtained. "She's good, I'll give her that. The paper trail is well hidden, but not hidden enough." Rhea pulled out a stack of documents, bank statements, transfer records, emails between Lenora and various shell companies. "We have enough here to bury her." Sully, always the practical one, frowned. "So what's the play? Anonymous tip to the IRS like with Ava?" "Eventually. But first, we need to plant seeds of doubt. Get people whispering, questioning. Lenora's power comes from her reputation. We destroy that first, then go for the legal jugular." "How do we start the whispers?" Dom asked. Rhea smiled. "We hire someone to pose as a journalist. Someone who starts asking uncomfortable questions about the Foundation's financial reports." Sully raised an eyebrow. "I might know someone. Former customer, works freelance. Could use the money." "Perfect." Rhea handed him a thick envelope. "Make it happen." Within days, a man named Jack Mercer began appearing at social events, press badge from a small but respected financial news site prominently displayed. He asked casual questions about the Calloway Foundation, expressed interest in writing a profile about its innovative approach to charitable giving. Lenora, never one to shy away from publicity, granted him an interview. It went well on the surface. But afterward, Mercer began reaching out to foundation donors, board members, and business partners with increasingly specific questions about certain transactions, about funds allocated to projects that never materialized. Just as Rhea had planned, the whispers began. Meanwhile, she orchestrated a seemingly chance meeting with one of Lenora's oldest friends, Miranda Wilson, at their shared gym. "Oh, Rhiannon!" Miranda exclaimed, feigning surprise as if they hadn't arranged this days ago. "I heard about you and Jasper. I'm so sorry." "Thank you, Miranda." Rhea gave a sad smile. "It's been difficult, especially with everything else going on." "Everything else?" Rhea widened her eyes. "You haven't heard? I assumed you would know, being so close to Lenora." Miranda leaned closer, hungry for gossip. "Heard what?" "About the investigation. The Calloway Foundation." Rhea trailed off, looking uncomfortable. "I shouldn't say more. I'm sure Lenora will confide in you when she's ready." The seed planted, she excused herself, leaving Miranda burning with curiosity and concerned to be by the end of the week. 3 major donors had quietly pulled their support from the upcoming gala. A board member resigned, citing personal reasons. And Lenora, according to Dom sources, was becoming increasingly paranoid, demanding loyalty oaths from staff, scrutinizing every communication. The fortress was showing cracks. Then, 2 days before the gala, Rhea made her boldest move yet. "You sure about this?" Sully asked as they sat in his car outside the federal building downtown. Rhea clutched a thick folder of documents, the most damning evidence against Lenora, carefully compiled and annotated. "Absolutely. Once you hand that over, there's no going back. The feds don't mess around with charity fraud." "Good." Rhea checked her appearance in the mirror one last time. Plain clothes, minimal makeup, hair pulled back, the perfect picture of a concerned citizen doing her civic duty. Lenora doesn't deserve mercy. Sully watched her with a mixture of admiration and concern. Just be careful. Women like Lenora, they don't go down without taking others with them. She has nothing on me. Rhea opened the car door. I made sure of that. Inside, she met with a federal investigator who listened impassively as she laid out her concerns about the Callaway Foundation's financial practices. She played the part perfectly, the reluctant whistleblower, the daughter-in-law torn between family loyalty and moral obligation. I just couldn't stand by any more, she said, eyes downcast. Not when so many people believe their donations are helping others. The investigator thanked her, took the documents, and assured her they would look into the matter discreetly as she left the building, a weight lifted from her shoulders. The wheels were in motion. Lenora's downfall was inevitable now. That night, as she sat alone in her apartment, Rhea's phone rang. Jasper, she answered, curious about what new development had driven him to call at this hour. Rhea. His voice was slurred, broken. What did you do? I don't know what you're talking about, Jasper. The foundation. Mom's freaking out. IRS called her today. They're launching a full investigation. He gave a bitter laugh. You did this, didn't you? Your mother did this to herself, Rhea replied calmly. I'm just making sure she faces the consequences. She'll lose everything. Her reputation, her friends, maybe even go to jail. Good. The silence on the other end was deafening. When Jasper spoke again, his voice had lost its anger, replaced by a hollow emptiness that almost made Rhea feel sorry for him. I never thought you could be this cruel. I learned from the best, she replied. Your mother tried to poison me, Jasper. She tried to destroy my life. Did you think I'd just walk away? I hoped you would. For my sake, if nothing else. Rhea closed her eyes, remembering the years she'd spent trying to please this man, to earn a place in his family. That's the difference between us, Jasper. You hoped I'd be weak. I decided to be strong. She hung up, blocking his number before he could call back. There was nothing left to say. The final stage was set. Tomorrow, the Callaway Foundation Gala would become Lenora's public unraveling, and Rhea would be there to watch it happen. The ballroom of the Peninsula Hotel glittered with crystal chandeliers and the jewelry of Chicago's elite. Rhea stood at the entrance, wearing a black dress that clung to her curves, hair swept into an elegant updo. She wasn't on the guest list, of course, but a generous donation to the event coordinator's favorite charity had secured her a last-minute invitation. Some heads turned as she entered, whispers following in her wake. The soon-to-be ex-wife of Jasper Callaway, daring to show her face at Lenora's crowning event. How scandalous! How delicious! Rhea accepted a champagne flute from a passing waiter and scanned the room. Ava was notably absent, no surprise, given her recent legal troubles. Jasper stood near the bar, looking haggard in a tuxedo that hung loosely on his frame, and Lenora, resplendent in emerald green, worked the room with practiced charm, though Rhea noted the tension in her shoulders, the slightly too bright smile. She knew something was wrong, but was determined to maintain appearances. Rhea moved through the crowd, exchanging pleasantries with acquaintances, avoiding Jasper's desperate gaze. She needed to time this perfectly at precisely 9:30 p.m., as scheduled. Her phone buzzed with a text from Dom. It's done. Seconds later, phones throughout the ballroom began chiming with alerts. Rhea watched as faces transformed from polite interest to shock, as guests pulled out their devices to read the breaking news. Callaway Foundation under federal investigation for fraud and embezzlement. The accompanying article, published by a respected financial news site, detailed allegations of misappropriated funds, falsified donation records, and personal enrichment by the Foundation's board, most notably its chairwoman, Lenora Callaway, and the coup de grace, a recorded conversation between Lenora and a city official discussing a substantial donation in exchange for zoning variances for a Callaway property development. Rhea sipped her champagne and watched chaos unfold. Donors huddled in corners, frantically reading the article. Board members made hasty exits. Reporters who had come to cover the gala's glamour now pursued a much juicier story. And in the center of it all, Lenora stood frozen, her phone clutched in a white-knuckled grip, face drained of color. Their eyes met across the room. In that moment, Rhea saw the exact instant Lenora realized who was responsible for her downfall. The shock, the fury, the dawning comprehension that she had severely underestimated her daughter-in-law. Rhea raised her champagne glass in a subtle toast, her lips curving into a smile that contained no warmth. Lenora started toward her, but was intercepted by a cluster of reporters who had materialized like vultures sensing weakness. Camera flashes illuminated her face as she tried to maintain composure. "Mrs. Calloway, can you comment on the allegations against your foundation? Is it true that donations were redirected to personal accounts? Did you bribe city officials for zoning permits?" Lenora attempted a dismissive laugh. "These allegations are completely unfounded. A disgruntled former employee, nothing more. My legal team will be addressing this shortly." But her voice wavered, and everyone heard it. Jasper pushed through the crowd, reaching his mother's side. "Mom, we need to go. Now." Rhea watched as he tried to guide Lenora toward the exit, only to be rebuffed with a sharp elbow to his ribs. "Don't touch me," Lenora hissed, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "This is your fault. If you hadn't married that nobody, none of this would be happening." The words carried in the sudden hush that had fallen over the room. Jasper's face crumpled in humiliation. Rhea moved closer, unable to resist witnessing Lenora's unraveling up close. "How dare you show your face here?" Lenora spat when she spotted Rhea approaching. "I wouldn't miss it for the world," Rhea replied calmly. "Your last gala. It's quite an event. You think you've won." Lenora's voice rose, drawing more attention. "You have no idea who you're dealing with. I'll destroy you for this." Rhea smiled, gentle and deadly. "You already tried that. With poisoned chocolates, remember? And look where we are now." The gasps from the crowd told her the revelation had hit its mark. Poisoning attempts didn't exactly align with Lenora's carefully cultivated image of Chicago's most charitable society matron. Lenora lunged forward, hand raised to strike, but Jasper caught her arm. "Mom, stop it. Get your hands off me," she snarled, wrenching away from him with such force that she stumbled backwards into a waiter, sending a tray of champagne glasses crashing to the floor. The sound of shattering crystal seemed to break something in Lenora as well. She stood amid the wreckage, chest heaving, hair coming loose from its perfect coif, the composed society queen completely undone. Rhea felt a hand on her elbow and turned to find Sully at her side, resplendent in a rented tuxedo. "I think it's time to make our exit," he murmured. "Dom's outside with the car." Rhea nodded, but before turning to leave, she leaned close to Lenora and whispered, "You should have just sent a birthday card." As they walked away, Rhea heard the distinct sound of Lenora's anguished scream, followed by more camera flashes. Tomorrow's headlines would be spectacular. Outside, Dom waited in a sleek black sedan, engine running. "How'd it go?" "Better than I could have hoped," Rhea replied, sliding into the back seat. She kicked off her uncomfortable heels and exhaled. Lenora completely lost it, in front of everyone who matters in this city. And the recordings should be hitting the news sites right about now. She checked her phone, seeing notifications flooding in. Yep, it's everywhere. Sully poured champagne into plastic cups from a bottle he'd smuggled out of the gala, to Revenge served ice cold. They clinked glasses as Dom pulled away from the curb, leaving behind the imploding world of Lenora Calloway. Later that night, as news coverage continued to unfold, Rhea sat cross-legged on her couch, scrolling through social media reactions. The city's elite were rapidly distancing themselves from Lenora, former friends suddenly developing amnesia about their close relationships. The Calloway Foundation's website had been taken down for maintenance. 3 board members had already issued statements claiming ignorance of any financial improprieties. Her phone rang a number she didn't recognize. After a moment's hesitation, she answered. "Hello. Is this Rhiannon Calloway?" A crisp, professional voice. "Vance," she corrected. "I've gone back to my maiden name." "Ms. Vance, this is Detective Morgan with the Chicago Police Department. We'd like to speak with you regarding Lenora Calloway." Rhea's pulse quickened. "What about her?" "She's made some concerning allegations. Would you be willing to come down to the station tomorrow morning?" "Of course," Rhea replied smoothly, "but I'll be bringing my attorney." She hung up and immediately called Dom. "Lenora's gone to the police, probably claiming I set her up." Dom didn't sound worried. "Let her. We covered our tracks. Everything we leaked was true, and we were careful about how we obtained it. Your hands are clean." "You sure about that?" "Trust me, sis. By this time tomorrow, Lenora will be the one answering uncomfortable questions, not you." And he was right. The next morning, Rhea and her lawyer sat across from Detective Morgan, answering questions about her relationship with Lenora and her knowledge of the Foundation's finances. She played the part of the shocked daughter-in-law perfectly. "I had my suspicions something wasn't right," she explained, eyes wide with apparent concern. "But I never imagined it was this extensive. I'm just as devastated as everyone else who believed in the Foundation's work." By the time they left the station, it was clear the police were far more interested in Lenora's activities than in Rhea's allegations of a setup. The evidence against Lenora was simply too overwhelming. Over the following days, Rhea watched the Calloway empire crumble from a safe distance. The Foundation was placed under investigation by multiple agencies. Major donors filed lawsuits to recover their contributions. Lenora's social invitations dried up overnight. Her carefully cultivated image as Chicago's philanthropic queen was shattered beyond repair. And Jasper, caught in the crossfire, spiraled further. He lost his position at his father's old firm, a mutual decision, according to the press release, but Rhea knew better. Without his mother's influence or his wife's support, Jasper was exposed as the hollow shell he'd always been. 1 week after the gala, as Rhea was finalizing paperwork for her new apartment lease, Jasper appeared at her door. His expensive suit was rumpled, his eyes bloodshot, his cheeks hollow. "Can I come in?" he asked, voice raspy. Against her better judgment, she stepped aside. He walked in and stood in the center of her living room, looking lost. "They're charging her," he said without preamble. "Wire fraud, tax evasion, embezzlement. Her lawyers say she could face prison time." Rhea said nothing, watching him come undone. "My job, my reputation, everything's gone." He ran a trembling hand through his hair. "And Ava, she's fled the country. Left me to deal with this mess." "I'm sorry to hear that," Rhea said, not meaning it at all. Jasper looked at her with sudden clarity. "No, you're not. This is exactly what you wanted." She didn't deny it. "I was weak," he admitted, slumping onto her couch. "I let her control me, let her come between us. But I love you, Rhea. I always have. We can start over, away from all this. Just you and me." Rhea studied him, this man she had once loved, this man who had stood by while his mother tried to poison her, this man who had betrayed her trust time and again. "You were just a pawn, Jasper," she said finally. "A stepping stone. And I never forgive." His face crumpled. "Rhea, please. Get out." She opened the door. "Get out before I call security." "You can't just throw everything away," he protested, rising unsteadily. 5 years of marriage. 5 years of lies, she corrected. 5 years of watching you choose your mother over me, again and again. "I made mistakes, I know that. But, no." She cut him off, her voice like steel. "There's no but. There's no redemption arc here, Jasper. You don't get forgiveness. You don't get a second chance. You get nothing." She stared him down until he finally moved toward the door, Shoulders slumped in defeat. At the threshold, he turned. What happens now? Now. You leave. I never see you again. The divorce goes through, and you rebuild your life far away from me. And my mother. Ria's smile was cold. She faces the consequences of her actions, just like you are, just like Ava is. You've changed, he whispered. You used to be kind. I used to be a lot of things. She began closing the door. Goodbye, Jasper. She shut the door on his stunned face and leaned against it, exhaling slowly. A weight lifted from her shoulders, the last tie to her old life severed. That night, she met Sully and Dom at the Rusty Nail to celebrate the final phase of their revenge plan going perfectly. The bar was nearly empty, just how they liked it. To Ria, Dom said, raising his glass, who took down an empire with nothing but her wits and an unhealthy dose of spite. She laughed, clinking her glass against his. And my two partners in crime. Technically, we didn't commit any crimes, Sully pointed out. Just creative information sharing. Dom grinned. The best kind of revenge, the legal kind. They drank in comfortable silence for a moment before Sully asked the question they'd all been avoiding. So, was it worth it? Ria considered the question. Was it worth the sleepless nights, the strategizing, the constant stress of staying one step ahead of Lenora? Worth watching the man she'd once loved destroy himself? Worth becoming the kind of person who could orchestrate another's complete destruction? She swirled her whiskey, watching the amber liquid catch the light. Every damn second. 3 months after the gala that shattered the Calloway dynasty, Ria sat in her new office overlooking the Chicago River. After the dust settled, she had leveraged her accounting skills and newfound notoriety to secure a position with a respected financial investigation firm. As it turned out, taking down one of Chicago's most powerful families was impressive on her resume, especially when that family had been engaged in financial crimes. Her phone buzzed with a text from Dom. Turn on Channel 4. Now. She grabbed the remote and switched on the small television mounted on her office wall. Breaking news banners scrolled across the bottom of the screen. Lenora Calloway pleads guilty to multiple fraud charges. The camera showed Lenora exiting the courthouse, a shadow of her former self. Gone was the designer wardrobe, replaced by a subdued gray suit. Gone was the perfect coif, her hair now showing streaks of gray she'd previously dyed away. Gone was the imperious bearing, her shoulders now hunched against the barrage of questions from reporters. Mrs. Calloway, do you have any comment on your plea deal? Will you be serving prison time? Have you spoken to your son since the scandal broke? Lenora ignored them all, her face a mask of grim resignation as she was hustled into a waiting car by her attorneys. The news anchor returned to the screen. Sources close to the case indicate that Calloway has agreed to pay substantial restitution and will likely serve between 18 and 24 months in a minimum security facility. This marks a stunning fall from grace for the woman once considered Chicago's premier philanthropist. Ria muted the television, a complex mix of emotions washing over her. Not satisfaction, exactly. Not happiness. Something deeper, more primal. Justice. Her intercom buzzed. Ms. Vance? There's a Mr. Calloway here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment. Ria hesitated. She hadn't seen or spoken to Jasper since that day in her apartment. Their divorce had been finalized through attorneys, with no direct contact necessary. Curiosity won out. Send him in. The man who entered her office bore little resemblance to the Jasper she had married. Gone was the expensive tailoring, the carefully styled hair, the confident stance of a man born to privilege. This Jasper wore wrinkled khakis and a button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up haphazardly. His hair was longer, unkempt, with patches of gray at the temples that hadn't been there 3 months ago. You look well, he said, hovering awkwardly by the door. Thank you. She didn't return the compliment. What do you want, Jasper? He took a tentative step forward. I saw the news about Mom. Thought you'd want to know I had nothing to do with her plea deal. I haven't spoken to her since. Well, since everything fell apart. I didn't think you had. Rhea kept her voice neutral. Is that all? No. He took a deep breath. I wanted to apologize. For everything. For not protecting you from her. For not being the husband you deserved. A bit late for that. I know. He stuffed his hands in his pockets. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I needed to say it. Rhea studied him, searching for the manipulation, the angle. Found none. Just a broken man trying to make sense of how quickly his life had unraveled. What are you doing now? She asked, not out of concern but curiosity. I got a job teaching at a community college. Business ethics, if you can believe it. He gave a self-deprecating laugh. Figured I'd learned enough about what not to do. The irony wasn't lost on Rhea. And Ava? No idea. Last I heard, she was in Europe somewhere. He shrugged. Doesn't matter. I was never in love with her. That was all Mom's orchestration. An uncomfortable silence fell between them. Through the window behind Rhea, the afternoon sun cast long shadows across the office. I was weak, he admitted finally. I let her control me. But I love you, Rhea. I never stopped. We could try again, start fresh. I'm not the same person I was. Rhea tilted her head, considering him. The desperate hope in his eyes, the tremor in his voice. For a brief moment, she allowed herself to imagine it reconciliation, a new beginning, the life they'd once planned together. Then she remembered the box of poisoned chocolates, the years of subtle humiliations at Lenora's hands. Jasper's constant capitulation to his mother's whims. The necklace that wasn't hers, tucked away in his drawer. You were just a pawn, Jasper, she said at last. A stepping stone. And I never forgive. The hope in his eyes died, replaced by resignation. He nodded slowly, accepting the finality in her voice. I figured as much. But I had to try. He moved toward the door, then paused with his hand on the knob. For what it's worth, I am sorry. And I hope you find happiness, Rhea. You deserve it. Goodbye, Jasper, she said firmly, as the door closed behind him. Rhea turned back to the muted television where images of Lenora's disgrace continued to play. She felt no triumph, no elation, just a quiet certainty that justice had been served. Lenora had tried to teach her a lesson in power and control. Instead, Rhea had learned something far more valuable: how to dismantle an empire, piece by calculated piece. 6 months after Lenora Calloway's guilty plea, Rhea stood on the balcony of her new Lakeview condo, watching the sunrise over Lake Michigan. The promotion she'd received last month had finally given her the financial freedom to move into a place that was entirely her own. No remnants of her life with Jasper, no ghosts of Lenora's influence. Her phone pinged with a news alert. Former Chicago socialite Lenora Calloway reports to federal prison. Attached was a photo of Lenora, ashen-faced and diminished, being escorted into a minimum security facility to begin serving her 18-month sentence. Rhea set the phone down without enlarging the image. She didn't need to see Lenora's fall up close anymore. The victory was complete. Her doorbell rang. Saturday morning, 7 a.m., it could only be one person. You're early, she said, opening the door to find Sully leaning against the frame, 2 coffee cups in hand. Morning run, he explained, handing her one of the cups. Saw the news on my phone. Thought you might want company. She accepted the coffee with a grateful nod and led him back to the balcony. They stood side by side, watching the city wake up beneath them. So, Sully said after a comfortable silence, she's finally locked up. Seems that way. How does it feel? Everything you hoped for? Rhea considered the question, sipping her coffee. The bitter warmth spread through her chest, much like the complicated satisfaction of seeing her revenge plan reach its conclusion. It feels. She searched for the right word, right? Justice served. Sully studied her profile. And Jasper? Heard anything? Left town last month. Dom says he took a teaching position at some college in Oregon. She shrugged. Far away from Chicago, far away from me. And Ava, last I heard, trying to rebuild her life in Paris. All her assets were seized in the investigation. Sully leaned against the railing. So, was it worth it? Rhea thought about the past year. The betrayal, the rage, the meticulous planning, the cold execution of her revenge. She thought about the price she'd paid, the sleepless nights, the hardening of her heart, the person she'd become in pursuit of justice. Every damn second, she said, her lips curving into a satisfied smile. Sully raised his coffee cup in a toast. To Rhea Vance, who takes no prisoners. And makes no apologies, she added, clinking her cup against his. Below them, Chicago bustled with morning activity, people rushing about their lives, oblivious to the small victory celebration happening above. Rhea breathed in the cool morning air, feeling truly free for the first time in years. Lenora had tried to poison her, to control her, to break her. Instead, she created her own worst enemy, a woman who had learned from the best how to utterly destroy someone in the end. Lenora had taught Rhea the most valuable lesson of all. Never underestimate the power of a woman scorned, especially one who knows your weaknesses and has nothing left to lose, as the sun climbed higher in the sky. Rhea felt the last threads of bitterness dissolve into something like peace. Lenora, Jasper, Ava, they would all fade into her past now. Casualties of a war they'd started but never understood how to fight. And Rhea? She would thrive, untouchable, unrepentant. She had won.